Revealed to me is the nature of true education. Open senses, sharpened instinct, heightened intuition, perceptive ears, vigilant eyes, and a stoic tongue. For small doses of wisdom can be like medicinal phrases for the soul, and a medicinal phrase can be like a healing pool for all those that yearn to hear with their spirit. And it can mean different things to different people, yet heal all the same. Wisdom, therefore, is like a filter of moral judgment, without imposing its will onto anyone or anything. It simply is as it is. That's an excerpt from my book, The Book of Oldishness. And I want to, in this video, talk about the wisdom of celibacy and what it's really like to be experiencing life as a celibate person. Because as you know, that Paul wrote that it is better to abide like me if you're not married in the Bible. And what that means is to be celibate. It's better to be celibate because he was celibate than to participate in fornication or adulterous behavior or anything like that, because although we live in a time where the scandalousness of society is perpetuated and just very much encouraged in all different forms and shapes, more so than I would say than in a long time, because even though we've never seen quite anything like this is readily available to us, like there's never been a time in history where somebody can look up corn on their phone and, on this portal, because the screen is the portal, right? It is a portal to somewhere and to something. It's just a matter of where and what and how. This is why I also describe in my book, I describe it as a digital civilization. The technology that we have today makes a digital civilization that is not exactly separate, but it is separate in some ways from the actual physical reality that we live in. It's definitely a metaverse, but it's stemming from and it's giving birth from the physical. And when you're celibate, you're going to start to notice these things. You're going to start to notice how there's a lot more liveliness to life. You're more prudent with your language. You're more prudent with your actions and behaviors. And yes, the temptations may increase ever so increasingly over a long duration of time until they just don't anymore. And even then, the temptations, they're always going to be there. But it's a matter of whether or not you act on them or not. Are you repressing your desires? Are you acting on your desires? Or are you accepting your desires? Because those are three different things. And I believe that the reason that we are so spiritually castrated from ourselves as men specifically is because we're participating in these degenerative behaviors. Like there was a person in the Regal Change Academy that reached out to me last night, and she told me about these men that are called pigs. And I didn't know about this. I don't know. This is just, all allegedly, things that are going on in the world, right? And she told me about how she's seeing these people, that men specifically, that are paying women to basically berate them and to call them these names and all this stuff. And it's just very sick. It's very degenerative behavior. And I don't know why exactly these men are doing this, apart from they're masochistic. And I genuinely think that men that are not actually in themselves, like they don't have themselves, they do tend to be a little bit more masochistic. Whereas women who are not within themselves, they're a little bit more sadistic in their ways of moving in the world. But the more healthy a man is and the more healthy a woman is, they're going to flip both of them on their side. So the more healthy a man is, it's not that he's a sadist because he's a healthy man. He doesn't like to see people in pain, but he's more prone to if push comes to shove, it's going to be, it's going to be the other person first that's going to go down. And it's, again, it's not sadist exactly, but it's leaning more towards sadism. I don't know if you guys can hear that, but I'm not even outside, and these people are just slamming things around. This message definitely people definitely don't want this message to go out. I don't know what they're doing. They've been working on this construction site for like 2 years, and it's just a house that they're like remodeling or something, and they're not making like any progress, and yet they're always doing stuff. It's just very bizarre. But anyway, side note, I hope that the sound isn't too bad. But where was I? Oh yes, the sadistic part. So men are going to lean more towards sadism, whereas women are going to lean more toward masochism. Again, they're not masochists and they're not sadists. They're going to lean more that way. If push comes to shove, because women like to be, they get pleasure from their own pain to some degree because it makes them feel alive. Now, again, I'm not saying that this is like good. Okay, I'm not saying that this is really you should be masochistic or you should be sadistic. It's just that that's tendency wise the ways that things are going to balance out. And when you're on the celibate path, you're going to start to notice that your truth preference is going to go higher and higher because you can tolerate it. Because now your body is like a vessel that can actually handle the information that's being provided. Because sometimes it's kind of like, you ever been driving on a dirt road before? Like I used to, at my grandpa's cabin, we used to have these Jeeps. And whenever we went on the, like in the Jeeps, right, we had like, there was the old red Jeep that we had, and then there was the newer gray Jeep, which was still like 40 years old or something. But man, that red Jeep was like a 1946 or something. And that thing was powerful, man. And you could go anywhere with that. You could go do anything. You could go mudding with it. And it was super easy to work on, right? If anything had a problem, it was super easy to work on. You could fix it really by yourself. Super, super easy. You didn't need a whole team of special technicians that just get your car fixed like you do nowadays, pretty much. And anyway, you could do anything with that kind of vessel, going on. But can you imagine trying to take a Lamborghini or something on those dirt roads? You can't do that. Like, you can't even do that with like some of these regular cars. Like, imagine taking a Toyota Prius, like dirt, like going through like mudding and such. I guess it's just not going to happen. So the body is going to become more adaptable to whatever terrain you are in when you're on the celibate path. It's just the way that it is. And you have to look out for people's jealous and envious energy as well. I don't like to promote this sense of, people are going to be jealous of you and envious of you. They are, but it's probably not as much as you think. And there's no reason that you need to be focusing on that anyway. Like, yes, take note of it so that you know who's who and who wants to see you succeed and who wants to not see you succeed. But just take note of it. All right, noted. And then you move on. You don't really stick around to it. You don't try to figure it out why they're doing this. Some people are just envious because they're envious. And other people, sometimes you have an energy about you or accolades or accomplishments that other people feel like they deserve but are not willing to put the work in. And they feel like they're trying to, like a lot of these people, they feel as though they've done everything and yet they haven't done those things. If you're somebody that's just put in the reps, so to speak, to get to where you are, the work is going to show for itself and the discipline is going to show for itself. Okay, this is why I say that, being fit is kind of like giving out your business card to some degree, because your fitness and your overall health is going to determine like how how well you are responding to the trials of life. Because if you can stay healthy into your, I mean, most people nowadays can't even stay healthy past 25, really. And I know because I was one of those people that I was almost 200 pounds, okay, at 5'6", and now I'm about 155. And that was like 4.5 years ago, 4.5, 5 years ago, something like that. And, part of this path, part of me getting healthier was choosing to not watch corn. Okay, like next week, I think is actually going to be maybe 2 weeks from now. It's going to be almost 4 years, or exactly 4 years since I've seen corn. And thank God for that. And I don't even have a desire to go back to it. And I have been on the celibate journey. I've been celibate for years. And I've had many opportunities to stop that and to give in to my temptations. But I really want to do things the right way. Whatever happens in the future, I want to do things the right way. I don't want to give in to my temptations, even though I know that they're there. I know that these things are there, but I don't really need to deal with that. I don't need to pay that any attention. I need to invest my attention into other things. And I swear, being celibate, you're just naturally more creative and you're more in tune with who you are because you're retaining your energy. You're not giving out your soul away, parts of your soul to everywhere. And I think that this goes for both males and females. If you're on the celibate path, if you're planning to be celibate, for the rest of your life, basically, until you find your mate, then you're going to naturally just have things always work out for you, it seems like. It genuinely feels that way. And I think semen retention and celibacy, I'd put those in two different categories. Because semen retention is you can still have sexual intercourse, but you're not going to release. Now, there's still a possibility that you can release, of course, but with celibacy, obviously you're celibate. Okay, you're actually celibate. You're not playing with yourself. And, there's all these little terms that people come up with, but I'm not like I just use the term semen retention because it's the most practical. I don't see it as the idol worship thing that most people see that it is, apparently. I didn't realize how much people worshiped the semen retention. Oh, like, how many days until I get these benefits? How many days? Like, they want to know, they want to have this timeline. And yes, you can have like a general timeline, but like everybody's different. And the way things are going to work for some people are just not going to work for others. But when you're celibate, just generally speaking here, you can feel the energy of the person a little bit more calm. They're a little bit more collected. Okay, they're a little bit more grounded. They're not everywhere. And when you're around people that you know for a fact are scandalous or promiscuous, the energy is just, after talking to them, I swear you feel dizzy, man. Like, you feel like, okay, I feel like I'm losing my soul just talking to this person. And it's probably because you are, to some degree. These people that are out here that are promiscuous, if you like look them in the eyes sometimes, and I'm not saying you should be scared to look people in the eye or anything like that, but sometimes I just avoid eye contact with people because I know that their behaviors, I don't want to look into the soul of that. I just don't. Sometimes I don't mind it. Like, I'm capable of looking at the darkness, but sometimes I just don't want to because I know that I'm going to see something that's really dark. And I've literally seen women where I swear their eyes have turned to like serpents, right? And people will say, like, hear this if they've never heard my channel, if they don't know what I'm about, if they don't know what any of this is actually about, if they don't know the deeper spirituality things, they're going to be like, what are you talking about? But all the people that have been on this journey for a long time, they know what I'm talking about. You can look into somebody's eyes and you can sometimes feel like they're reptilian. Okay, they're controlled by demonic possession, and they don't know. And these people can be very attractive. Like on the outside, amazing. But on the inside, ugh. And this is where what Jesus says about it's not what comes, it's not about what goes into your body that defiles you. It's about what comes out of it, right? And you have to make sure, like, well, what does that mean exactly? Well, it means like, what is your spirit emanating? What is your spirit really, really projecting into being? And that's something that you have to take into account. You have to look at that and see what that is. Otherwise, you're going to miss some things. You're just going to miss some things. And the people that are on the celibate journey might go through these phases. And I don't like to say phases because I'm very mindful of that word. Because even the word phase, it alludes to like timelines. And I don't want to, like, yes, there are timelines and you can jump timelines and such, consciously speaking, consciousness, on a consciousness level, I ought to say. But it's not really about that. It's about recognizing the loops that you're in. It's about recognizing the patterns and then how to break those patterns, how to be free. Do you want to be free? Okay, do you want to be more? Do you want to, and I don't mean be more as in like you have to have more. It's just that you know that you're not really who you could be, right? You're not really who you could be in God's eyes. And if you are proclaiming that you know, like you know certain things, but you don't act like it, well, do you really know it? Like, do you know? Like, being healthy is, as far as your nutrition goes, is the basic form of this. You might know that eating ice cream and pizza all the time and brownies all the time is bad for you. Okay, it's not going to give you a good, happy, long life. And yeah, maybe eating some broccoli or some asparagus with some chicken and maybe like a steak, because people think steak is like really bad for you. It's really not. Or like ground beef too, all these red meats. Oh, red meat is bad for you. No, that's a psyop. Okay, that's a psyop. Because if you've tried just eating meat for a while, you'll start to feel more alive. You'll start to feel more energetic. If you're a man, you start to feel more virile, etc. So there's all these things that happen where when you start to actually just live in accordance to what nature has planned and what nature offers, because that's what God created for us, okay, we were made in God's image, and it's an honor to be that. And there's something very deep there that many people seem to have lost, or many people seem to just, they don't want to acknowledge this anymore. They don't want to acknowledge the God-shaped hole that is in society. And that's why I'm doing these kinds of videos. It's because being celibate in general gives you a new perspective of life that you never saw before. And it's almost like you realize that you're missing out without realizing you were missing out. Like, it's one of those things where you don't know what you have until it's actually there, rather than when it's gone. You don't know what is actually the power of being celibate until you actually do it. And I think that's really, the main point that I want to hone in on in this time, because the people that are out there that need to hear this message the most, it's likely that it's going to fall on deaf ears. But there's going to be many people that want to be free, that want to be internally connected to God. And that's really what celibacy is all about. It's about staying connected to God and not just giving your soul away to whomever. Okay? Because if you do that, if you're constantly giving your soul away to whomever and to whatever all the time, and you're never going to be grounded, and you're never going to really have your spirit. And with women, this is the most dangerous for them to do. With men, it's still, not the best, because it's just not. And I could bring in a bunch of facts and stuff. We can look at the amount of happy marriages after one sexual encounter with someone, like actually penetrating and all that. Women go from a marriage satisfaction rate of like 60 to 65% to like 38% After one person, the likelihood that they're going to have a happy marriage goes down that much. Okay, it's already at like 65 or whatever percent. Then it goes down to 38. And then it only goes down from there. It's never going to go up. Whereas with men, it starts at like 70, 75%. After one, it goes down to like 45, 50%. And then it just steadily goes off from there. So men will still be happier statistically, but still it's not a good statistic either way. So this is why, and I see a lot of men, oh gosh, when men start to talk about, all women are whores and hoes and all these things, it's like, yeah, okay, so what have you been up to recently? How are you on Tinder? Are you on, what is it, Hinge? Are you on OF? Are you supporting these kinds of women? Are you giving women money for free or whatever? Like, these are going to be the same types of men that do those kinds of things. And then they complain about the women. And it's like, well, it's because you don't respect yourself. And if you respect yourself, you're not going to do those things with women. A woman has to earn that from you. Okay, she's got to earn that. She's got to earn your loyalty and your commitment. And a lot of men are just willing to give it up right away because they're just so desperate. And they don't understand that women, you can't really convince a woman to like you through money. Okay, sure, it might last for, I don't know if you guys can hear that. Seriously, I don't know what they're doing. But it's not like you can do those things and still be considered a self-respecting man and a respectable man. I'm sorry, I'll love you because God commands me to, but I don't respect you. I just don't. Because I know that if I were to do those kinds of things, I wouldn't respect myself. Okay, so I would have to stop doing those things and start doing things that make me respect myself, like create things. Focus on my health, focus on my nutrition, focus on my business, focus on helping people, focus on caring about people, but not caring what they think, right? So with all that being said, I hope this message was useful and insightful for you. I'm going to go yell at these people. I'm just joking. But like, man, holy crap, can't even make a video without people, like the noise monitoring spirits, right? It's crazy. Every single time I have something really on my mind that I really want to share, all of these things happen. And it's out of nowhere. Like, it's literally out of nowhere. But that's just the way life goes sometimes. You gotta continue forward and not give up, because if you give up, especially like being on the celibate path, if you give up being celibate just because you have a little bit of temptations and then you feel the regret and all that, like, I can't tell you how many guys I've talked to that have been like, they're trying to be celibate, they're trying to be or on semen retention, and then they give in because they're trying to drive a Toyota Prius on the dirt road, and it just doesn't have the suspension or the tactical precision or the motor to do this kind of thing. You're gonna need different resources. You're gonna need different materials. And being celibate, you naturally get those different materials and things. There they go again. All right, guys. Peace be with you all. Until next time.